Welcome back to another episode of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker Fan Podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. Tonight, Scott, Coach Justin, and I will recap the embarrassing 40-16 loss to Iowa that cost first-year defensive coordinator John Butler his job. That move partially answered the question in many Huskers fans' minds of where do we go from here? But is that enough? Well, let's bring in the boys. Let's talk about it right here on episode 150. Hey, guys, how's it going? How was your Thanksgiving this year?
Good.
Yeah. Well, I know yours was good.
No, it was pretty good. It was, weird not being, around my direct family. Didn't see them until the weekend. But, it was a little bit soured by watching the game on Friday. I can't lie, but it's
I just hung out with the wife. And my family's back in Texas. And my wife's family's in spread out between California and Virginia. So we just hung out with the dogs, cooked up some food.
It's good. Would y'all eat? Did typical turkey, or did you go?
We just
different?
Did the ham. We went ham, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, and then she made some cinnamon roll monkey bread with cinnamon toast crunch frosting.
Oh, dude!
So I've been living off of that.
Yeah. I think I felt my blood sugar just spike.
Oh, bro. I'm like, you better love me. Good. You better still love me when I'm fat.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. We got two of these. If you've never had a Costco pumpkin pie, you're missing out. If you ever get to a pumpkin Costco pie at Thanksgiving season, I'm not a huge pumpkin pie guy either, but these are really, really good. So we devoured two of them. They're like this big around. It's unbelievable how much pie we ate. Turkey, ham, the trimmings, everything. My wife knocked it out of the park, as always. So it was an absolute blast having Scott and all the family over. 19 people in a house with wood floors and vaulted ceilings. Yeah, I left the hearing aids in the charger in the bedroom. Otherwise, I'd have been a miserable man.
Oh, yeah.
So, it was an absolute hoot. We had
my birthday's in 2 days.
Is it?
I turned 35 in 2 days. I'm old.
35, youngin'.
I'm old.
Youngin'.
Getting up there.
Moonbot says, "Howdy, nerds. I'm indifferent about the Butler firing." Well, that's a way to come out swinging. I'm indifferent. Hey, I'm indifferent about the team. I got to the end of the second quarter on Friday, and I was kind of like, I just kind of lost interest.
Oh yeah.
Never want to hear media or fan complain about player loyalty. We fire coaches after a year like hotcakes.
You had to.
I've heard this. I have heard this take. This isn't like the first time I've seen someone say this. I guess my response to that would be like, when it becomes obvious that we have someone that's not the guy, do we just keep him for keeping him? You know what I'm like? What are you going to do? Because that's a recipe for disaster.
You had to do it.
Yeah.
You knew he didn't have a lot of the ingredients he needed in the cupboard, but there comes a point at which that when you're a chef and you're given what you're given to cook with, you figure it out. And over 12 games, he just never figured it out. So
excellent analogy.
You can't have your worst performance at the very end of the season when you're supposed to be developing and learning and growing as a coach.
The other Dave says, "Howdy, Moonbot. The Butler did it." That's excellent, the other Dave. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. You can follow us on Facebook, X, and YouTube at Gen Red Pod. Podcast is at Generation Red on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite app. Go to genredpod.com for our website, and you can email us at genredpod@gmail.com. We have Gen Red merch available. Scan the QR code on the top right corner of the screen to check out our store. Or you can do if you're listening to us on the podcast form later, you can go to our website and click on the link in the bar at the top of the page. Man, one of my hearing aids just went out a second ago, and I thought I lost connection.
Mine too.
That's a little weird feeling. We want your opinion during the show, so sound off in the live chat or drop a comment down below if you want to watch this show later or on demand. Guys, it was Iowa in a nutshell. Quick start followed by the predictable collapse. Why, in the name of all things holy Husker football, does this keep happening? Because we've seen it over and over and across multiple coaches. For me, I'm puzzled. part of my puzzlement is the fact that it seems like we've tried to hire coaches over and over and over again that want to do things in a manner that really don't work here. For example, pass heavy offenses in windy conditions in October and November. I just don't see how something like that is going to be successful on the long term if you don't have a really effective run game, which we did this year. Problem was it wasn't complemented by an effective run defense, so we were kind of screwed. We couldn't control the clock like we wanted to because the other team was doing it half the time. So just quick start followed by why do these predictable collapses keep happening to Nebraska football? Anybody want to jump in, and what are your thoughts?
Well, I feel like if we had the perfect solution, we probably wouldn't be sitting on a podcast. We'd probably be coaching somewhere making big money. But I don't know. I honestly just this doesn't really answer the question. But I just feel like this Iowa game, kind of as a whole, has kind of been like almost every year with Matt Rhule so far has been like starting the year really good at the beginning. And then by the time November comes around, we look like crap. And now in this game, we start out looking okay. And then look at how that game ended. It's just been 3 years in a row of collapse. And honestly, the 3 years, the Iowa game is kind of a nutshell of the season to me especially, Iowa's moving all over the field on us, put up 40 points. Obviously, we saw how the last 2 weeks went. I just feel like it's been an all-around collapse. And I wish I had the correct answer, because if I did, I promise you I would call Matt Rhule tomorrow and tell him what the solution is. I just don't have it, man.
Yeah, it seems it seems when things don't go our way, the team just shells up and curls into a ball. It's kind of coming down to and I know we talk about kind of why does this keep happening to us, blah blah blah. It's just like the culture and the identity have changed to an extent, but at the same time it seems like there's still this kind of, I don't know, almost this disconnect a little bit in the intensity from the team. And you see other, like look at Texas, for instance. You look at a team like Texas, look how much they were chastised early on in the season, but look at Arch Manning. Look at what they were able to do, rally around him and kind of get better as the season went along. It just seems like and I feel like the team takes the identity of the coach. And I feel like Matt Rhule right now, when he's in his press conferences and I think BAU kind of alluded to this, where Carricker was talking about kind of tired of, Matt Rhule. And I had tweeted about this before that, the passive aggressiveness from the press conferences. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't need to see this the week prior. We don't need to hear that anymore. And I feel like it starts from stuff like that. Like, he's got to, they're talking about challenging these guys in practices, but we don't see, and we talk about the winter mat drills and those things kind of hardening these guys and getting them ready for these moments and tough moments and stuff like that. But like, they got to look, Matt Rhule's got to look in the mirror at his own processes and say, like, this may have worked at other places, but there's something else that I got to do here to instill this change in this culture, because whatever he felt he was undertaking at this university is obviously far deeper than he even realized. Because now I feel like we're at a point where he's getting defensive about it because his process isn't working in the way maybe he thought it was going to by year 3. And the team is going to take that same identity. They're going to, if they feel like their coach is kind of shying away from the tough questions, or he's still sticking to what he knows and like, hey, like, this is what it is, just let me figure it out. But he's not getting to the root of the problem still. And the team is just taking on that identity. And so I feel like there's just something there that he hasn't taken the time to look deeper within himself and within his structure and within his system to figure out, like, what is the problem here? He talked about early on year 1, and I thought this was a good sign, where he's talking about, the fumbling problem. And forget who he talked to, but he was like, yeah, he told me I wasn't coaching, not fumbling hard enough, And so, like, he was able to kind of take that and get an answer from somebody else and be able to look within himself and put, his own pride to the side and be like, okay, yeah, he's right. I need to coach ball security better. He needs to figure that out, because the answer is not going to be given to him every single time. And so right now he's got to look within himself, within his process, within the system, and figure this out, because there's something still there that has this team just not able to kind of flip that switch. And as soon as, again, it's this fear of failure. Scott Frost preached no fear of failure, or Eric Chinander, no fear of failure, all this other stuff. This team has had a fear of failure for a decade now. And they just crawl up into a ball and shell up, and the staff does the same thing in the press conferences and everywhere else. It's a long-winded answer, I know, but it's just kind of I just feel like what he thought this team was going to be by now, it's not, and like he's getting to the point where he like it doesn't know where to go from here. Yeah, and that's the scary thought, is like when your coach feels like he doesn't know where to go from here and he's trying to find the answers at the end of year 3.
Well, because this is something I kind of find interesting, especially with this year 3 thing, is most of the time when you hear these kind of narratives and whatnot, a lot of it's like media driven, of like people noticing trends and whatnot, but like not this year 3 Matt Rhule thing. This is coming directly from his mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like he gets hired here and he says like, hey, I really popped this thing off year 3. He said that for, first year and a half he was here.
We're going to dominate in the trenches.
Yes, we're going to do, and
we're going to win the 4th quarter.
Yes. And then, going in, I think he was in like June or July, he puts out the tweet, and I don't remember it verbatim. It was, about all the people profiting off the negativity and despair, and your time ends now. It's like, man, you're not giving us much to not talk. We don't have anything else to talk about, man. And you haven't given us anything yet. I mean, yeah, I get it's been improvement, but overall, I think you guys get the sentiment I'm trying to say here, right? I'm just like,
it's always been turned around by year 3, and when it's not, now he has to figure out why. And this is the first time he's been in this situation, because in Carolina, when it didn't happen, they let him go. Now he has to figure that out, and this is where we find out if he's what he says he's cracked up to be. Good coaches, great coaches will figure that out, figure a way to get through this. And it starts by right now, which he's starting to do, is making some tough decisions with the staff.
Mm-hmm. Ken, you're muted.
Did you all catch Adam Carricker's gut reaction show?
I did.
No, I just watched the clip of I watched a couple clips on X. That's about it.
He made a point on there where he just kind of said, I don't want to hear anything, something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't want to hear anything from Coach Rhule about negativity and about people profiting off of negativity. And he said it, and Carricker said he said it several times throughout the season. And he said, you know what, Coach? The bottom line is there hasn't been a whole lot of positivity for us to grab onto. Give us something positive instead of constantly having this negative stuff that keeps coming back around and around and around. What else are we supposed to talk about? And I was like, I appreciated that very much. I also appreciated something that Gary Sharp said, and I thought I'd bring it up here. He was on the Average Joe Sports Show, I believe it was Saturday morning. And he said, it seems like Matt Rhule has embraced the idea of Nebraska nice, except on Saturdays. And he said, Kurt Cignetti has embraced, we're coming in, we're going to kick your ass, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it has permeated his entire program. Call it hubris, call it, full of himself. He's this, that. He's supremely confident. The difference between him and between Indiana and Nebraska is the mentality that they go into every single day, every single rep, they're not thinking they're going in to kick somebody's ass. They're thinking, well, our coach keeps saying every week, well, I'm expecting every game to be 17-13. Why are you expecting that? You're a head coach. You just hired a whole staff of people to what? Score 17 points every game? Is that your true expectation? I'm sorry, but the messaging doesn't work. And if the kids are hearing that constantly, because coaches speak through the press to players, and they're getting the message, oh, shit, coach only expects us to score 17 this week. How good – what does that do for your team's confidence? Cignetti gets up there and he goes, hey, I win. Google me. Yeah, that was a total ass wipe thing to say and a complete jerk move, but it was the truth. What's wrong with the truth? What's wrong with getting up there and going, guys, if you want to start kicking people's butts, you need to start acting like you want to kick people's butts, like Emmett Johnson did for the entire offseason, where he went out and he caught 200 passes a day so he could get better and he could be that outlet for Dylan. Did we hear anybody else on the team that was doing extra work? Work in the weight room. Dr. Rob Zadiska talked about the fact he got into shouting matches with his strength coaches because he was doing extra strength training in the off season starting in the early 90s. And he's like, yeah, but we're winning. It's working, So there comes a point at which these kids have to take it on themselves too. And I fear that some of the messaging we're getting from the head man is short-circuiting some of the wiring in their head as to what they need to do to be that player that takes themselves and the program to the next level. I don't know. What do you think of that, guys?
No, I feel like there's some, I feel like there's something to that. You brought up Signetti, and I will say, I don't know. Ken, I know your thoughts on. I know you don't really. There's for something personally. I kind of dig his attitude. Maybe I wouldn't love it if that was I don't know, but I do something. There's part of me that digs that sort of stuff. And you take some of those comments of his team's going to play at Penn State, and they're asking him directly before the game, hey, you guys have never won a game at Penn State. What do you think is going to be different this time?
This team's never played here.
Yeah, this team never played here.
Yeah,
I mean
I appreciated.
Yes, and I mean this.
That was a true statement that I truly appreciated. Yeah,
right, 100%. And I mean this respectfully, but you ask Matt Rhule that question before the game. What do you think? I don't think it goes that way. You know what I'm saying? And it's
well, they're a tough team. We're going to come in here and we're going to fight. We're going to battle, like your typical coach speak.
Right, 100%. And it's just one of those things of I think you've been spot on. That's something that as a coach myself, I've also just kind of had a little bit of a problem with of just the whole, we're going to go win this game 13-10 or 17-13, or it's going to be a close fought battle to the end. Sure, you have to somewhat prepare for, you think every game's going to be a dogfight, but I don't know if the message publicly should be that. You know what I mean? That's something there's been games that I know the situation, and you know what I go tell my team? We're going to go kick these guys' ass today. You know what I mean? And that's the message you need to be providing to your team is, hey, all this stuff we're going to do, time to go impose our will on somebody, not just kind of sit around and avoid the punches and try and land one at the end. No, let's go out swinging from the get-go.
Yeah. And I think, some people, I realize I'm saying what I was saying about Matt Rhule and saying some of the things that he says publicly. There was never, with Tom Osborne, for example, there was never indication ever in the public eye or at a time when he stood at the podium that he said anything even remotely close to, we're going to go out there and we're going to beat them down. He was very low key. But you know who said it? The assistant coaches. They said it all the time. And teams were intimidated when they came to Memorial Stadium. They were intimidated when we showed up at their stadium because half their fans would leave and our fans would come in because they knew an ass kicking was coming.
Thing is, back then too, that identity was there. That was already the idea.
Exactly.
To change an identity, you have to bring that brashness. You have to just come in and say, no, this is what it is now. Yep.
Yeah, because there was a transition between Tom Osborne and Bob Devaney. Bob Devaney was like a freaking mobster, and
yeah.
So the culture was already rugged. It was already gritty. It had some tenacity to it. And then Tom comes in with his soft-spoken, don't disappoint me, son, kind of mentality. And the fact that he was able to surround himself with all the appropriate pieces that could complement and contrast and create this really interesting dynamic of yin and yang, it worked, and it worked for decades. But we're now at this point where we have Matt Rhule year 3. We didn't have the Matt Rhule year 3 magic. And so now our question is why? Why did we get outscored by, 40 something points in the last 4 games? It was 76 points scored against us versus 26 points that we scored, something ridiculous like that. Yeah. And I can't point anywhere other than the coaches, obviously, But I think the part that I've just kind of come to terms with is that, and I'll gladly be wrong about this, but Matt Rhule is probably not going to win us a national championship. It's just not going to happen. If he was, he would come in here and there would be immediate changes, and he would bring the right guys and he would preach the right sermon, and our guys would be all firing in the same direction by year 3, bar none. There would be no other outcome from a national championship contending coach other than that. You can point to me some coach that took their team to a national championship in a blue blood program where by year 3 they were not contending for at least a conference championship.
Yeah.
And we're in year 3 now, and we're barely bowl eligible. And it's going to be a really, really interesting bowl game if we're going to the one that I think we're going to. But at this point, this is obviously the Iowa, review, but truly with John Butler getting fired and us looking at the program as a whole, that's what we've been talking about this whole time. Like, Matt Rhule is either got to get really lucky with the coaches he hires and that he surrounds himself with really, really good coaches that can instill the culture for him, or he's just not the guy for us. Those are the only 2 options, because at this point, you've had 3 years to figure it out, and he hasn't. And I would expect more out of him if he was gonna take us to the next level. I think he takes us to another level, perhaps, but I don't know what that level looks like. Is he just going to be a perpetual 8-4 coach? That's my suspicion. Best case scenario with Matt Rhule, given the context we have in the last 3 years, we're going to be a constant 8-4 team that all 4 of those losses are against ranked teams that we are probably never going to beat.
It's Bo Pelini.
Yeah, well, Bo Pelini at least won. What was it?
He averaged 9 at least a year.
Yeah, but he still couldn't be the ranked team.
He couldn't beat too many ranked
same
teams.
thing.
Yeah.
We would beat a ranked team on average.
No, he couldn't win the big games. That was the whole gripe against him. He just didn't win the big games.
He couldn't win them consistently.
Yeah, he couldn't win the big games.
Yeah, the biggest games. We can't even win a kind of big game.
Yeah, if the game's on like
you've already put us at 8-4. We ain't even been 8-4 yet.
That's what I'm saying. That's like the ceiling.
We're perpetually 8-4, and we ain't even got there yet.
That's the ceiling. That's what I'm pointing out. That's the ceiling with Matt Rhule, and I'll gladly be wrong. But at this point, dude, you've had more than enough support. You've had more than enough ability. And I understand Curt Cignetti, he is, 1 in a million. We can't compare ourselves to that level of a turnaround. But I mean, what excuse does he really have? Oh, his guys are young. Oh, he got the wrong coaches. But that all still falls on his shoulders. And I will still die on this hill. Matt Rhule is not a coach's coach. He's a guy who goes out there and says some nice things. He fluffs you up. He's a real good, salesman. He can sell you on the product, but does he know the product in and out? Is he the expert on the product? No. He's never once shown me evidence that he is a football guru who knows everything that there is to know about football. Yes, I'd say the strong side that he has is he understands that the culture of football has changed. And so there's a perceptual kind of a structure you have to have. You have to be on social media. You have to have a chasing 3 high production quality thing that brings recruits and be like, oh, look, you'll be in 4K for the world to see. He understands the media aspect. But when it comes to the coaching aspect, I still have yet to see any evidence that this guy knows anything of what he's doing. I think he just got lucky. I think he got really lucky.
I think we're going a little far here. I think this is getting a little carried away.
Prove me wrong.
We're going off.
You had me for a bit.
Rails,
that one.
Then you lost me.
You just kept going and going and going.
I was on board with you,
What's
Scott.
the evidence? What's the evidence? What's the evidence that he's not just lucky?
There's a lot of evidence that he can coach. I mean, look at his track record. Just because he hasn't done it here doesn't mean You just doesn't mean he doesn't know football and all the things you just said.
He's won
beat back the truck
games against ranked teams. One was against Navy.
Okay,
and
but that doesn't mean he can't coach.
I'm with you there.
You went a little too far. You went a little too far off the rails.
That's where I veer off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'm not going that far with it.
Went a little crazy there.
Nah. Prove me wrong.
He has. He knows how to coach football. Sorry.
I don't know. I don't see it.
No, you haven't seen him turn around Nebraska. You haven't seen him turn around Nebraska and do it here, but he can coach football. You're a little too far. I think you need to calm down.
I feel like
you're going a little too far. You need to relax.
Moonbot's with me.
That doesn't matter.
I told myself.
I don't know what this attitude you got tonight is, but
no. And
it's kind of annoying.
We can roll the tape back 3 years ago when Matt Rhule got hired. I said at the end of
but you're going a little far, and then you're like, nope, prove it. No, it's annoying.
Nah. I mean, okay, that's fine. I'm just saying, I don't see it. I don't see a pattern that I can latch onto that says this guy is gonna do it. You know, I said that in Rhule we trust, you know, that whole thing. But it's now the end of year 3. We got our asses kicked by Iowa, which is unacceptable. Last time that happened was with Mike Riley. I just don't see it. I don't see a pattern that I can latch onto that says this guy is an elite level competent coach. He's average.
You just said he can't coach football. Now you're saying elite level competent coach.
He can't
pick one.
The context of what I was talking about was elite level coaching. Is he going to take us to the next level? He can't coach at that level.
No, you just said he can't. You literally said he cannot coach. Like he hasn't proven that he can coach.
What was I talking about though?
You literally said we just sat here and heard what you said. Yes, words are important. You say what you say, mean what you say.
He can't coach at the level that I was expecting him to. You
just said he can't. You haven't proven that he can coach.
Yeah, he can't coach at the level that I expect him to.
Okay, whatever.
Well, he did say he thinks he can coach to 8-4.
Yeah,
just not to 10-2, 11-1, 12-0.
Whatever. Can't beat the ranked teams. So can't win the big ones.
We're probably lost Justin at this point. That's fine.
Where'd he go?
No. Don't know. Didn't like what you were saying. He bailed, I think. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm with you, Scott, and I'm kind of in the not with you in a sense. I'm not going to make the blanket statement that he can't coach, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's your overall.
The thing that we're probably looking at the rate that he's performing now, if things don't drastically change in that coaching staff, in the way that, because all we've heard for 3 years is alignment. We're aligned now. Leadership is aligned. Coaching is aligned. Everything. We're all in alignment, and that fucking team looks as misaligned as anything I've ever seen on Saturday. So
that's I guess what Moonbot's pointing out is really what I'm getting at is that, yeah, he can coach. He knows basic level understanding of coaching, but we pointed it out all season. His game management is awful. The staff picks he's made at this point have been mediocre, questionable at best. Eckler is really the only coaching hire that we can point to in the last 3 years that we can go, that was a good hire. The rest of them are kind of like.
And it took a former player to get him to actually talk to Eckler. He wasn't in Rhule's circle or in his sphere of coaching influence. Eckler was a complete outside hire for him. And at the same time, one of the things, and you've said it before, Coach, as well, you'd like your coordinators to be able to hire their own staffs. Well,
very much.
once Dana was brought in, all he was allowed to do was get a different wide receiver coach. So he's stuck with Donovan. He's stuck with EJ.
Yeah,
he's stuck
if you look at it technically, he did bring in another assistant. He did bring in another wide receivers coach. But technically, if we're looking at it, he was also going to have he was going to have 2 receivers coaches because we weren't going to get rid of McGuire. If you look, technically, McGuire left on his own. I'm just throwing that out there. You know what I mean?
I would say that like an elite coach, and we'll use Nick Saban as a prime example, a perfect archetype of a coach. Like him, hate him, whatever. Mm-hmm. he hardly ever had to fire his coaches.
Right.
He knew exactly who he wanted to bring in with whatever system, his pre Tua Tagovailoa era, when he had his pocket passing quarterbacks, his, prototype NFL passing quarterbacks. He hired coaches that were going to establish a system kind of like that. And then those coaches, one by one, would get hired off elsewhere. And most of his assistant coaches at this point have been head coaches in other programs. Some of them are defensive or offensive coordinators, whatever. But the majority of them, I were to be hard pressed to say that I'd say more than 70% of all of his coaches that have held, substantial position coach roles have been head coaches. Elite, absolute elite coaching ability. He knows what he wants. He knows what the college football landscape demands of him, season in, season out. And he was able to sustain that for like 15 years straight with little to no hiccup. The second he'd run into a hiccup, he would change his archetype. He would move the program in a different direction. And so if our expectation as our podcast is our eventual return to greatness, what does that demand? It demands a great coach. And I will gladly, one of these days, I'll remember this because it's episode 150. Seems like a pretty, we've done a lot of episodes, and 150 is like a pretty sweet number. I'll follow back on this if, let's say, in 3-4 years we compete for a Big Ten championship and Lord willing we win or something like that. And I'll gladly be wrong. But at this point, the competency with his game management skills, the lack of coaches that we can say outside of Eckler that it's like, man, thank gosh we have this coach, because he's really this cornerstone of our program and our identity. We don't have any of that. We have nothing. We have a special teams coach, and like that's it. We have EJ as a talented player, and we've had a few, little flash in the pans here, especially our defensive line guys last year, Nash and Ty. Incredible. Were those Matt Rhule's guys though? No, they weren't. So at this point, year 3, we're not where Matt Rhule promised we would be. Every important promise he made, we're going to dominate in the trenches. We're going to be great in the fourth quarter. And by year 3, we're going to be either winning games or losing games by a close margin. And, it's that progressive kind of progress, I guess. None of those things have panned out at this point. So I have no choice but to say, all right, you're in my hot seat now. Not as a program. He doesn't have to be in the hot seat in any sort of tangible way. But for me, it's like, okay, buddy, my patience with you, I have none. I have zero patience. You better make some really good decisions and prove me wrong by next season, or you're going to have complete and total apathy from me. I've already been kind of in and out of this apathetic state as a fan. Obviously, I think everybody has been kind of that Husk guys, I think, embodies that roller coaster of apathy to, just the, right. We're never winning a game again. And then by Friday, you're like, I think we can still win 10 games, Right. But by next year, dude, buddy, I have no patience. I'm going to just be cool as a cucumber. I'll watch the games. But I mean, dude, this is the first time, and this is where I'll finish off. This is the first time as a Husker fan since I was in Japan, and it was kind of forced upon me, that I've had to turn off games before the clock hits 0 in the fourth quarter. Twice this year. Penn State and Iowa. I turned those games off before they finished. And that made me feel disgusting. But I was like, what's the point? So, yeah, Matt Rhule better make some good hires. Butler getting fired right away. Good choice. That one was pretty obvious. But I guess, who do you guys think is next on the chopping block?
I don't know. I feel weird throwing people's names out there like that.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to name anybody either, because I just don't. That's up to Rhule. I know who I mean, we've talked about him numerous times. I think the O-line has vastly underachieved when it comes especially to pass pro. And if we look back at all the games where Emmett was good, I think you'll find that a lot of point of attack where he made people miss was because the offensive line didn't get something done and he just made something happen.
Yep.
If we had imagine if Emmett was running behind an Iowa or a Penn State offensive line, the dude would have gone for 2,000. Easy.
He would.
You know what those guys would have done?
Right.
They would have freaking ran him too, instead of making him park his ass on a bench for 3 years because Marcus Satterfield didn't like his dreads or whatever the hell his problem was with EJ, which sounded really, really trivial if you ask me. To me, I think you start fresh with an offensive staff, except maybe a running back coach, maybe the running backs coach. But like you said, Coach, if he's going to make the drastic move of sending a DC down the road, I think that DC should be allowed to have an absolute say in who he brings in to be a part of his staff to implement a system. I think Rhule needs to be open to the idea that, you know what, maybe the 4-3 is a pretty cool idea in the Big Ten. Have 4 down linemen all the time so we can stop this stupid run first. He preached it from the podium, from his opening press conference. We're going to stop the run. We're going to run the football. We're going to own the trenches. The trenches have been a problem all 3 years he's been here, except for Ty and Nash. Those are the 2 exceptions. And even then, those guys didn't win a lot of games in those first 2 years either. So when are we going to see the trenches? When are we going to see the commitment to getting the trenches fixed? And I think you have to, I don't know. For me, it's like watching this offense this year. I mean, hell, the defense was rated 23rd in the country at the end of the season. Overall total defense. Unfortunately, the run defense was 95 and the pass defense was number 2.
Crazy how those numbers balance out.
Is that remotely possible that we could have that good a pass defense and that horrible of a run defense? I mean, yes, I know the ingredients weren't there. I know the big run stuffers, they weren't there. But surely if you're making the kind of money Butler was making and he's been around the game as long as Butler has been around, you could figure out how to take the ingredients and make it work. You know, you can take chicken crap and turn it at least into chicken soup at some point if you're good at what you do, but it never got, in fact, it regressed as we got through the season. So it's just, it is so frustrating. And I'm sad that Justin left, but I get where he's coming from too, because he really wants to believe. I know he does a lot more deeper dives into how things are done and whatnot than we do. So I can understand that frustration, but I'm kind of in the middle between him and you, Scott. I'm not going to be the guy that says, yeah, 8-4 is his ceiling, but the current evidence tells me that 8-4 would be pretty cool.
I get that.
It would be pretty damn cool if we get to 8-4 next year. But the evidence also tells me that by year 5, that boy better be figuring out how to get close to winning 10. Otherwise, what's the point of dropping $12 million a year on him? Why? Why are we paying elite coach money to a coach that's not going to get us to 9 wins a year like we used to get for the 2 guys we fired? That 9 wins wasn't good enough. You know, I don't believe in curses. I've never believed in curses. I've joked about it all the time. But I think if you really look deep into the soul of what Husker football always was, it always started up front. It always started with an offensive line that was going to knock 30 to 40 players on their butts every single game. We don't even talk about blocks that knock people off their feet anymore. We're too busy zone blocking, making little openings for the running backs to jump through. We don't talk about defensive lines anymore like we used to. You don't have the Christian and Jason Peter lined up next to each other and other offensive linemen just not sure what kind of crazy stuff they're going to pull in this game because nobody's intimidated anymore. We've decided that when we fired Pelini and when we fired Solich, we decided the Nebraska way is no longer the proper way to play football anymore. We've got to get more modern. And somehow trench play is the thing I think that has suffered the most in this program. And I think if you want an identity, you got to start there. You absolutely have to start there. You've got to have some mean sons of guns up front that can't wait to knock the guy backwards in front of him, whether he's a defender or an offensive lineman. And we just don't have that. We're too busy playing patsy cake. At least what I watched. And then if you can't get holding calls because you suck so bad, they're like, why would we call holding on these defensive linemen? They can't get upfield anyway. And when they do, they get held. So it's kind of, what can you do? I mean, we can complain about refs. We can complain about that all we want. We could say that the Big Ten is kind of purposely not helping us any by scheduling a Penn State game at night and then turning around on a short week and having to play at 11 a.m. on Friday. I know that plays a factor physically, but, I don't think that 95 team would have given two craps from Sunday how many days they had between games. They couldn't wait to get it back out there on the field and hammer somebody because they beat the living daylights out of each other for the week prior. So, and I know college football has changed. I know you can't practice like you used to. You can't do the 2-a-days. You can't build in that toughness through constant repetitions and banging on each other like you used to. But by God, the SEC and the big-time teams in the Big Ten have figured out how to make it work. Why can't we?
What's their secret sauce?
We have everything. Like you were saying, Scott, we have every possible advantage. Nobody has facilities like we do. Nobody has recovery, nutrition, strength and conditioning, all that stuff. Nobody has what we have. And our recruits love it. And when they get here, they've got access to everything except winning consistently on Saturday. So why have we become soft? Because we have the Ferraris and we have all the stuff that you could ever want to look good, but deep down, you don't have those roots that go deep down in the ground that you need for a good program like Nebraska to be good again. I think that's part of the problem. You're not getting the right guys in here. You're certainly not getting the right coaches to get them to play like you need those guys to play. We've got lots of stars everywhere, and a whole bunch of 3-stars keep coming into our stadium every other year and kicking the daylights out of us from about 250 miles east. You don't think you think Iowa's payroll is anywhere near what Nebraska's is? Not even close. No. And they love coming in here and kicking our ass. And it pisses me off that we have 5 coaching staffs now that hasn't figured that out. Or 4 coaching staffs now that hasn't figured that out. But they love to come in here and shove it in our face that our stupid AD had to open his mouth, back in the day.
Minnesota's had our number for years. Row the boat. We've got our boats rowed since that opening frost season. We haven't beat them since 2018, and they've had our number, and it's like, and they're not even as consistently good as Iowa is. So like, what does that mean for us? And I think you pointed out, and I if you would agree or disagree, Coach, let me know. But I really do like that concept of when you bring an OC in, your OC decides who he wants as his supporting cast.
Yes,
and when you have a DC,
that's very common. This is honestly one of the only times I've seen that not be common. I'm just being just being honest here. I've never seen that.
That's my approach. Is I don't really care who gets fired or who doesn't. As long as our OC and our DC have full reins and full support from the system itself to get the guys that they want in. I saw Moonbot talking about, we got to get new O-line coach, D-line coach, RB coach. EJ is self-made and the other 6 running backs couldn't do anything. That is true. But ultimately, it's up to the head man. It's up to Matt Rhule. How does he want this program to run? How does he want it to look like? What power is he giving his assistant coaches? And I don't know what it was like. I guess I haven't done a deep dive. Is this the way he coached at Baylor? Was he a super micromanager that only picked and chose like what guys he wanted there? And same thing at Temple. I mean, I suspect that's the way it was because that's pretty much his track record. Is he brings in his coaches that he knows personally and has a good relationship and rapport with, and whether or not those guys all have a relationship with each other, they might have mutual contact, but I'd say that the way that Matt Rhule can make himself a great coach is by completely fundamentally shifting his identity as a coach. It doesn't mean he has to get rid of his persona. I love his persona. I love his bravado. And when who was it? Snapback Sports came and visited Lincoln a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And seeing him, like seeing those guys with Matt Rhule with the ice pool and whatnot, and just seeing him just be like one of the boys, like I love that. Like we don't need a Nick Saban or a Kurt Signetti persona. We don't need that. I just want the results. So yeah, I do agree with Coach. I don't want to necessarily say, of course, I'll just say it right out of the gate. I don't want our offensive line coach at minimum. I want that one gone. I'll just say that out of the gate. The rest of them, I'm kind of like, I don't have whatever.
I just feel weird naming names just because, like, I'll just tell you, like, I know some of these guys, and like, I'll text some of these guys. I don't want to be put in that weird position. You know what I mean?
Nope. I completely understand.
I'm not going to disagree with what you're saying.
We're just a couple of dummies. Yeah. So we're just gonna say dumb stuff, and you're coach. You've got that coaching mindset. You understand it on a deeper level of like, it's awkward. It's weird. I do not envy Matt Rhule's position. I don't envy any head coach's responsibility of being that guy who, for a fact that no matter what position coach you have, it's likely going to be a revolving door ad infinitum. Like you don't really see a Charlie McBride anymore, a guy who just is a perpetual coordinator that just sticks with you for a decade and a half. Like you're just not going to, in this day and age, that's a very, very rare feature unless you get like a Phil Parker.
Right.
It is possible, but I wouldn't hedge your bets on that. So I don't know, man. This year, like I said, I wanted to wait till the end of this year, end of Iowa game, to really take a step back and look at the program and say, where are we in comparison to what we were promised? And we are nowhere near where we were promised. And I think I have all the right to be a little bit upset about it. Yeah. And maybe choose my words a little bit more carefully. Of course, Matt Rhule can coach.
I am with you. I'm with you now. I'm with you. That your overall point, I agree with you. That's where I'm not mad or anything. I just got caught up in a little bit of
disagree
with just, he doesn't know how to coach. I'm like, I don't know about all that, but I got you.
Yeah, I should have clarified.
It's all good.
But.
Let me ask you a question as a coach, and I'll ask you this, Scott, too, because I've heard this mentioned several other podcasts, not just the fan-based ones, but also some of the media ones. I think the plan when Rhule got here, they wanted to do kind of a pro style, but they also didn't mind having a quarterback that could get himself out of trouble with his legs, which is why they went after Jeff Sims, those kinds of things. And then year 2 comes along and they're surprised by the fact that Dylan Raiola says, I want to come home.
Right.
And they had to tweak in their mind, we're going to have to go more with the statue quarterback now. This isn't the blueprint that we had. Do you think maybe Dylan Raiola, as good as he could be, and the fact that our offensive line hasn't really developed like it needs to, talk about a rock and a hard place. Yes, you want your 5-star quarterback to come to Nebraska. Who wouldn't? Made us relevant in the recruiting circles again. You can't argue that, right? So it made us relevant there. But at the same time, you've got an underperforming offensive line if they're underperforming, you can't point any fingers except at the guy that's been coaching them that's just not getting it done to get them to perform up to the level that they need to perform to protect your most valuable asset, which is not just a quarterback, but your 5-star quarterback who's got the same damn last name as the offensive line coach. So I can't imagine what's going through Rhule's mind and stuff in regards to that. What do I do? This isn't working. We've got to make a change here, but I don't want it to affect there. But if it affects maybe we're better off, because then we can go the direction I initially wanted to go in the first place, which is to stay more. Yes, he wants kind of a pro style, but he also wants a quarterback that can get out of trouble. For me, as a guy who's watched a lot of football over the years and has even watched Nick Saban change in the latter part of, we need to get a running quarterback in here. He resisted that forever. He was all about the I formation, knock people on their tails all night long and just win in the fourth quarter, and it worked. And then started getting beat once in a while by some spread teams with some running quarterbacks, and he said, all right, Lane, come on in, show me how this works. So I think that's where Rhule wanted to go initially, but then, how can you not get the legacy kid?
No, I agree. And I think
I just wonder if it's hamstrung what Dana wanted to do. Cause I think Dana would love to open her up and let this dude run up the middle a little bit here and there and spread it out and fling it all around the field with the shorter passes, which is what you need to do. And this freaking fade patterns down the sidelines all game long got old for me to watch. It just didn't seem very inventive, but I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out there, that maybe part of what has kind of held back this team from getting to that year 3 jump is the fact that they're trying to make it work with a quarterback and an offensive line that just don't complement each other.
Well, that's, I think, my biggest thing is I'm on the side of, hey, Dylan Rhule wants to come to Nebraska. You obviously take the kid. But I think where I'm at is just like, I don't understand why. Okay, we know, and I'll give you the pass last year because it was a late change, whatever. Okay, I'll give you the pass. But now we're closing in on like 2 years basically since Dylan Rhule flipped his commitment from Georgia to Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And what his skill set is. And I don't mean this in a negative way because everyone has it, like where his limitations are, right? Every player in the world has his skill set and his limitations, right? And I guess just where I'm frustrated is just like how we knew what it was. For 2 years now, we've known where he's going to be. Guess what? When we're trying to build this roster, we don't need the fanciest weapons in the world. Why don't we invest in the offensive line? Because, and obviously I love having these guys. Don't get me wrong. I love having these skill players in. Don't take this the wrong way. Even though, we kind of maybe expected more, I really enjoyed having Dane Key on this roster, right? But the point I'm making with this is like, what do great quarterbacks do? Truly great quarterbacks. They make the receivers better, right? And I'm not saying Dylan can't do that. I actually believe he probably can do that. The problem is we haven't been able to let him make anybody get better because we can't protect him. That's where I'm like, I wish we could. I just don't understand the lack of investment up front on both sides of the ball, but we're talking more offense right now. I'm like, I don't understand the lack of investment there. Like, again, I love getting these weapons, but I'll be honest with you guys, like whatever awesome transfer portal wide receiver that we're probably going to get here in a month, I don't care. And I mean that respectfully, like, hey, great. I'd love to have great guys here, but like, that's not we've seen that 2 years in a row now of receivers get super excited about and just, okay. You know what I mean? Like, they're not bad players necessarily, but it's not helping us very much at all. They go get us 450 yards or whatever, and it's kind of what they do. Score 4 or 5 touchdowns, but it's not helping us win games at the next level. And that's been my biggest thing is I'm on the board of obvious, and I don't mean obviously is like, my opinion, I feel like, okay, obviously you go get the quarterback. I just don't know why we didn't build the offense around him in terms of like, why don't we protect him at all? Like, why did we not make that investment? It's just, I can't wrap my mind around. I don't understand the roster, makeup that we've decided to go. And again, I don't want to because it feels like, but I'll give you the pass last year. Whatever. I will just, all right, take it. You didn't get them till December. You still had quite a bit of time to change that, but I'll give you the pass. But coming into this year, you don't have that excuse. You had the full off season to make it work. And that's just where I'm at is like, I feel like, I feel like Dylan could make, I think he could make average wide receivers look good and good wide receivers look really good. But I don't think he's going to – he hasn't been given that chance here because we can't protect him. At least that's just my take. And maybe I'm putting too much faith. I don't think Dylan's not a good quarterback. I think he's a very talented quarterback. I just don't think we've built a roster around him. Again, you get him the great wide receivers. Awesome. You have Emmett Johnson, who we all know how amazing he is. Why does it take us till like week 6 or 7 to realize, we should probably hand the ball off to this guy more? You know what I mean? Like, how do you support good young quarterbacks? You have a good, reliable run game. That means you have to have really good offensive linemen and a great running back. We had a great running back, but we didn't use him for like half the season.
Yeah, it took a while for us to get him going. So that's just kind of what that banner there at the bottom of the screen is in big picture, what needs to be fixed first. I'm exactly with you, Coach. I think it's got to start up front, not just offensive line, but you've got to spend some cash on some big, as Schmitty calls them on Average Joe's, big Coke machines in the middle, or bending machines in the middle, dudes that can eat up double teams so that your linebackers can not have to worry so much about the proper fit. They can just go make a play, so but that's for me. Scott, if there was something that you think needs to be fixed right at the jump, outside of course John Butler getting fired, but what's the next thing that needs to be fixed aside from personnel on the coaching staff? Make you think a little.
Yeah, I think Matt Rhule needs to figure out exactly what identity does he want this team to be for the next 3 to 4 years, and do everything he possibly can to make that happen. That we did make a deal with the devil by bringing in the Raiolas. That I don't know exactly what the thought process was, but evidence leads me to believe that he kept and retained Raiola as an offensive line coach by the off chance that it might bring Dylan in, because there was always an interest there. And he couldn't fully commit to an archetypal structure that he wanted this team to be, what identity he wanted the team to look like. And that is evident with Jeff Sims. You go from Jeff Sims to Dylan Raiola, those are 2 completely different identities. Couldn't be more different. And you as a coach kind of have to, you either bring the 5-star in and drastically change your archetypal structure, or really double down on what it is that you want this team to be and are willing to let go of that pipe dream of Raiola coming in. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. I agree with you guys. You would have to be really, really stupid to not take a 5-star quarterback. But you also have to be really, really smart to know how to suddenly shift gears and be able to make it work. And I agree with you. I think by year 2, you could have at least made a nice jump to support such a role. So all of that, water under the bridge. It's year 3. It's the end of year 3. You now have the ability to get a clean slate. If Raiola sticks around, awesome. But is he going to fit the system that Matt Rhule wants? If Matt Rhule decides, he's the CEO, if he in his little office decides, this is the identity of my team that I want by 2029, this is the identity I want. And if Raiola doesn't fit into that identity, you go and you talk to him personally and say, hey, I think it's best if you explore other options, because you're not going to fit with this structure that we want to run here.
Yep. He's got to figure that out by January 2nd too.
But if I'm being honest, I don't think that would make any sense anyway, because all Raiola needs is a good pass protecting offensive line, which is just a given. Just get that. It doesn't matter if you've got a statue of a quarterback or you've got Jeff Sims back in the game. Like, having a great pass pro just makes every quarterback's jobs easier. You make them look so much better when you give them that extra second in the pocket. So that's my overview. Is Matt Rhule needs to figure out what he wants this team to look like, bigger picture, in 3 to 4 years, and he needs to just lean into that 100%. Have no exceptions. There will be no exceptions. I don't care if you're a 5-star. If you do not fit the system I want here, I don't want you here. I'm not going to bend and break my program for one ego. We are one team. We are all aiming in the same direction. If you don't want to put up, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he needs to do.
I agree. Good points. Good points, both of you. Let's see here. Dylan needs to go to LSU and win a natty, and we just completely reset. I'm a huge, good old moon.
Okay, hey, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this because this could go down a real negative rabbit hole. But I will ask you guys this question that has been going around in some of the group chats I'm in. If you are Dylan right now, like outside of the team aspect, whatever, like why would you want to come back to this team right now? Think about like where you were at coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, this could be the next great NFL quarterback. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that type of expectations of this could be a first round draft pick. Like that's not the end of your sophomore year. I know he got hurt by the end of the year, but there'd been nothing that we'd really seen. So again, good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. Good quarterback. But have we seen first round draft pick? Has
he not had the benefit of the development that he needed to be the first round draft pick?
Very much. That's been something I've been like, I was thinking about that before the season. Is that something that I've talked with, Mike Delaware from NBNR, right? And I've talked with him a little bit about it of like, if he doesn't take a massive jump, why would he want to? You might need to get to the types of programs that were recruiting him out of high school to be like, hey, Fiddler Elephant, like, hey, we got to get this kid to the NFL. And I'd say through his first 2 years, I haven't seen – again, I think he has the talent to be an NFL quarterback. But we don't have the tape, the stats, nothing to be able to send him that direction. You know what I mean? Other than the name and the hype. And again, I do think he has the skill set to be that type of player. I really do.
Oh,
maybe I'm dead wrong. I don't know. But I feel like he has the skill set. I feel like if you drop him into a Georgia or an Ohio State or –
with a good offensive line.
I feel like he could – I think he'd be that type of quarterback. And that's where I'm just like, I don't know. And again, I don't mean that. Obviously, I want Dylan to stay because I think he's a great quarterback. But if I'm looking at it from his perspective, like what have we shown him the first 2 years that are like, hey, you're on the right trajectory to where you're supposed to be?
Y'all let me get my foot broke or my leg broke.
So, right.
Yeah, I think it's it sucks because if you're in Dylan's position, you know for a fact that your uncle is probably not going to be around. So you're going to have a new offensive line coach. There's a lot of pieces that are going to probably still be moving around here during the off season.
Yes.
So you know for a fact that you're basically hitting the reset button as a quarterback. Your whole you're going to have probably a new system. There's going to be a whole lot of new pieces, and you're going into your junior year with that. And so your gamble as Dylan Raiola is by my senior year as Matt Rhule in year 2.0, is that going to generate NFL quality film that I can make it to the next level? And if I'm gambling with that, let's say Raiola does play that game. Let's say he goes, yep, I'm putting all my chips in at Nebraska. That's going to cost Nebraska a lot of money because Nebraska knows this. Dylan knows this. The only way that we keep him around is he goes, I need a blank check. You're going to need to fork over millions of dollars because this is my NFL career on the line here for you. If I don't get developed the way that I think you guys should develop me and I don't go to the NFL or I have to fight on a practice squad because I don't get drafted, there's all these different possibilities. That's money lost to him. You might as well, you're getting the bag either way. You're either getting the bag to stay at Nebraska because that's really what's on the table here, or you take the bag and you go to LSU, or you take the bag and you go to here or there or wherever. So you're getting paid regardless. But ultimately, he's a competitor. He's elite level competitor. He wants to go to the NFL. So yeah, money's fun while he's in college, but ultimately, if his goal is to go to the NFL, he's leaving Nebraska. There's no doubt in my mind at this point. And unless I don't know, I wouldn't believe anything that the coaching staff is telling me about the next 2 years. I mean, he's been here for 2 years, and like we said, there's not really been a tangible jump in his offensive line to protect him. So why would that change in 2 years? It's a huge gamble. You might as well just take the other gamble and go somewhere else.
You ready for another domino that could help him make his decision?
What's that?
What if Emmett stays? What if he's got a running back he knows he can rely on for about 1,200 yards next season minimum from scrimmage that'll help with the play action game? And what if they go out to the portal and they get a couple of tackles that are really good? It's hard. See, that's just it. The portal's a gamble too, isn't it? I mean, you're going to get generally the guy that didn't get the playing time he thought he should have got, and maybe he's a head case like Micah or Mazuka or whatever the heck his name was last year. So, that's a gamble too. But if you've got 1,000-yard, 1,200, 1,400-yard running back on the roster coming back next year, does that influence his decision to stay, or does it force him out the door quicker because he's like, I don't want to share yardage with him? You know what I mean? I don't think Dylan's that selfish, but at the same time, I wouldn't think twice about calling Lane.
Yeah.
Lane can develop a freaking quarterback, right?
Moonbot, here, I'll pull it up. Moonbot does bring up a good point here, though, is we're not going to have time to necessarily get those guys before the decision needs to be made. That's also what leads to – we can say we're going to go do that, but Scott, kind of like you said, do the words mean a ton yet?
Portal opens on January 2nd, and you have no idea what that offensive line is going to look like if he wants to dive into the portal. So,
yeah.
I think that is a good point by Moonbot. I think that's something I hadn't really thought about yet as you were talking it through. But it's like, actually, it's kind of a good point there,
Yeah, there's a lot weighing on that decision, and I don't think EJ has maybe a little bit of weight. It does help as a quarterback. It is nice to know that there is a guy that can consistently give you a break. But that leads to my other thing. I guess I'd ask you guys, do you think Emmett Johnson should stay or go?
Business decision wise, get out. But if he's to his heart and he wants to have a shot at some national awards next year, come back. But, like we've all heard, the running back's lifespan in the NFL is average, 3 to 5 years, Coach? If they're really good, they'll get 6 or 7 out of them. So if he wants to get his cash, I know he'd get some. I'm pretty sure they'd give him a good little bonus to stay here, but he's not going to get Dylan money. He's not going to get.
Right.
Heck, I'm not sure he'd get Latif money if Latif decides to stick around.
And that's the thing. We could do that, but obviously, I want Nebraska to pay whatever it would take, but also
but we need the line.
From a roster management perspective, it would kind of be a really weird decision to spend that much. Even the best running back in the country, there's only so much money you can throw in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
anyway, I decided as a podcast as a whole, it was obvious on Saturday or Friday that Emmett Johnson gets our Game Ball Award for the podcast. There's just nobody else other than the entire podcast for sitting through most of the game, because I'm one who shut it off too. I came downstairs. I didn't even turn the TV on. I did listen to the Husker radio broadcast on my phone.
I watched every snap,
but I didn't listen.
You're a better man than me.
Okay, so that brings up something else I wanted to say, and I know it may be a point of contention, but I thought, what the heck? Why?
I see this, and I know where you're going with this, and I very much disagree, but go ahead.
Hot take. The Iowa-Nebraska game itself is not a rivalry because Iowa owns us. There's no rivalry if you're not giving back. There is no rivalry if you consistently get your ass beat year after year after year after year after year. It becomes a rivalry if Nebraska happens to win 5 or 6 in a row in the next few years. But for right now, at 10 and 11 over the past 11 years, they've won 10 out of 11. The game itself is not a rivalry, but it is a rivalry certainly between the fan bases and the institutions. Just the game itself does not hit rivalry status for me, because it can't be a rivalry if one's not winning. By definition, for me.
That's tough because, I mean, we beat the tar out of Oklahoma for 8 years in a row. So out of a 10-year span, we were 10-1 against Oklahoma between 2001 and 1991.
Mm-hmm.
So did that automatically disqualify it as a rivalry? I know that there's a lot of history and it's completely apples to oranges, but I'd say that rivalries are based on either a profound level of mutual respect, which was the Oklahoma rivalry. There was a love-hate relationship. We loved our Oklahoma brothers because there was a sibling like you love a sibling. You hate them because you want to compete with them, but you love them because they're like a brother to you. Where our rivalry with Colorado was one of just pure and total hatred. Just they wanted to mimic us. And even though mimicry is like the purest form of flattery, we just saw them as the ugly step brother that just wasn't a part of the family.
I'll say it. Colorado is a bunch of scumbags.
Yeah, I hate Colorado. I hate Colorado more than I hate Iowa.
Bingo. Me too. By a long shot. I appreciate Iowa because of the way they win football games. I do. I can't help it. I love watching good line of scrimmage play. And that's what Iowa brings to the table every single year. Man, I wish we'd win like they do.
Yeah, well, I guess that's kind of when it comes to an emotional aspect, there isn't a team in the Big Ten that I have an emotional hatred for. I don't like to lose against Ohio State or Minnesota or Michigan or whatever, but I don't have a visceral, I'd like to beat them, but if we lose, all right, that sucks. We lost the game. But when it comes to Iowa, and this is just anecdotal, this is just me. So for me, yes, Iowa's a rivalry because the amount of weight that it pulls in the season for me is huge.
Mm-hmm.
At least for as long as I've been a Husker fan, it's been a Black Friday game. So it's how our season is always capped off.
Yeah.
And it really just has this natural feeling of, well, that's the end of our season. Do we finish our season with a win or do we finish it with a loss? Mm-hmm. And for the better part of the last 10 years, it's been nothing but losses. So I'd say that, yes, from a where I want Nebraska to be at the end, yeah, they're eventually, if all things play out the way I want it to, they're just going to be an afterthought. They're going to be that ugly stepbrother that's always trying to punch his way up and is just never going to get there because Iowa's never going to compete for a national championship in our lifetime. They might make it to a playoff, but they're not making it to the finals. Yeah, I just hate them. I hate them so much. And because of that hatred, I don't like losing to Minnesota. Like I said, I don't like losing to these bigger programs because they're the blue blood, prestigious, teams. I don't like losing to those guys either, but I don't hate them. I respect Ohio State. I respect a lot of those guys. As much as I hate, some personas of coaches, I don't hate them. But man, I just really want to punch Kurt Ferentz in the face. He's got a really punchable face. He's got a really, really punchable face.
There are some other I hear you. I hear you. And your point about Oklahoma is valid to a point. The rivalry itself was kind of put on a back burner once we joined the Big 12, and they made it to where we only played them, 2 years out of 4. So it wasn't really quote unquote a rivalry because it wasn't a regular game every single year. Once we joined the Big 12, but it certainly meant something once we got to a Big 12 championship game and we actually played Oklahoma in it in 2006 and 2010. That was important for certain, and I certainly hated losing to them. But I don't think I hate. I detest most of Iowa's fan base. I've run into a few of them on social media that are pretty decent dudes, decent people. But I'm with you that between the fan bases, there is a palpable rivalry based in hatred there for certain. But I can't look at the results of the games themselves and go, yeah, we're definitely Iowa's rival. No, we're not. We're the redheaded stepchild that they love beating down.
But if you look at it from their perspective, though, like their coaches and players, even though they're winning this game.
Oh God, yeah.
They very much see it like a rivalry. Like, go check out Phil Parker's Twitter feed. The only thing he posts all year is after they beat Nebraska. That's all. That's the only post they'll have all year. They view it as a rivalry, and they're the ones winning. I don't know. I just feel like maybe if they had the perspective of we're not their rival, you know what I mean? But they very much view us that.
I don't have that perspective myself. I'm just saying the game between the lines every single season does not play out like a rivalry game. It plays out like we're the Kansas to their Nebraska. Like we were back in the Big 8. They just kick our ass up front every year.
Yeah, I get that. But like the last few years up until this one, it hasn't been a blowout though. Like it hasn't. Crushing as they were, we did lose on last-second field goals Matt Rhule's first 2 years.
Do you remember? Well, no, you wouldn't. I barely remember this because I was a young kid and I just kind of discovered alcohol in my mid to late teens. But the Sooner Magic years of like 83, 84, 85, 86, those years in there where it always seemed like at the end of every Oklahoma-Nebraska game, they'd come up with something crazy and they'd win the game in the last minute. We called it Sooner Magic. So, yeah, a lot of those games that have been absolutely competitive, especially from the time Frost was hired until this past Friday. Every single game, Nebraska was in that game until the end of the fourth quarter. And then they come up with some damn Hawkeye magic. They just figure out how to beat us. Or we just shoot ourselves in the foot, which is what we're best at. So, but anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. I know it's stirring
it's a fun conversation.
It's a fun discussion. I don't look at the way that game is played on the field as something that's rivalry-esque because our team does not take it that way. We don't get up for it. We don't, other than last year. Last year, that was the first time I saw a Nebraska team really play it like they're a rival. Treated them like a rival, refused to shake their hands. I wish they'd have done it again this year. No, there ain't no water there's still water under the bridge, boys. I'm not shaking your hand this year either, kind of deal, if they're going to be a rival. But anyway, we know that John Butler's gone. Who's your dream DC hire? If there's somebody out there, Coach, that you see would fit really good into the culture here at Nebraska, I'm Jim Leonard all day long. I mean, I know he's in the NFL. There's a good chance he's not coming back to the college. Yeah. But I'd love to see Jim Knowles or Jim Leonard.
Yeah, I was going to say Jim Knowles would be like, if I'm looking at, someone who I really want as my dream hire, that's also realistic. Because if I was going absolutely absurd insanity, no rules, we could just poach whoever we want. You guys are going to hate this, but I'd pick Phil Parker. I'm just being honest, but I'm taking that because I understand that's not going to. I get it. Right. But I will say Jim Knowles on the top of my list. Figure out whatever check you make him the highest paid coordinator in the Big Ten is what I would do. We've already seen he's willing to leave a big program if the money's right.
Yep.
I mean, he left Ohio State to go to Penn State. I don't know if Penn State is running the type of program with whoever the hell they hire as their head coach. That's a whole nother discussion. But if they get somebody and they want to bring in their own staff, Jim Knowles is going to be looking for somewhere to go. If I'm Matt Rhule, I do whatever I'm trust me, Jim Leonard, that's also on mine. But I am all about Knowles, man. That's the guy that's the guy I would like. I did see, I know we referenced him earlier, but the NBNR guys, I know Jared had gone on there and said, if there's a guy who'd never coached in the Big Ten, I don't want him. I'm not there just because, and I understand it's not comparable necessarily, but like, I mean, look at the top 2 defenses in the Big Ten. Their coordinators before they got to their schools had never coached in the Big Ten before. So like, I'm not there, but I am looking at Big Ten coach. Don't get me wrong, but that's just kind of where I'm at anyway. I know a name that's kind of being thrown around a little bit is Justin Wilcox. I don't hate that idea. I really don't. But if I was just going top of the,
is that Cal? Is he from Cal or was
he just got let go from Cal as the head coach. Right. He's had some
good
really
defenses
good
there.
Yeah, he was at Wisconsin.
Yes.
He was at USC. I believe he was at Tennessee at one point. But I know he was at Wisconsin before he went to Cal, and he's been really good. So I wouldn't hate that name at all. But Jim Knowles is top of my list.
Yeah, I like the two gyms.
The two gyms?
The two gyms, either one. Because I've been seeing a lot of names flying around, and shout out to this guy on Twitter, super small handle, doesn't have a lot of followers, more than I do, but his name's Josh, at J Horton 402. If you guys want to go check it out, he did a stat comparison when it comes to.
Okay. I saw this.
Yeah, when it came to kind of all the names that have been floating around, like Brent Pry, Trent Bray, all these names, DJ Durkin, who just got got a contract extension or whatever, so he's out of that conversation. But yeah, I mean, Jim Leonhard is kind of right up there at the top of a 5-year average of productivity in a defensive coordinator role. He was great at Wisconsin. He was their interim, obviously, and then ended up going off to the NFL. But yeah, it's tough because I want to say either Jim Leonhard or Jim Knowles, but I just have this gut feeling that it's not going to be either one of them. Yeah, and I don't know, man. This is a tough one. But yeah, if it were to be a dream, like no strings attached, just go out, pick a guy, universe is your sandbox. Yeah, I'd pick like Phil Parker.
Right.
The whole world would explode. The Iowa fan base would probably riot. And Phil Parker would have to deactivate his Twitter.
Hey, we did steal their defensive line coach back in the late 2010s. Rich Kaminsky was Bo's defensive line coach after a couple of years in the Big Ten. So
yeah,
it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, maybe Phil Parker just wants to mix it up. He's just like, what if I were to just do the most inciting, like anger inciting decision I could possibly make the world explode. Because, dude, the amount, I mean, I don't want to sit here and talk too much about this, but yeah, the world would literally blow up. It would be hilarious.
The border war would certainly escalate, because then if we start beating them on the regular, then the Iowa fans, the only thing they'll have to say on Twitter and whatnot would be, well, the only reason you're winning is because you stole our DC type deal,
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those. It'd be a kind of double-edged sword, but I'd take it for some W's, to be honest with you. Hey, let's go get Signetti's DC. That'd be all right, wouldn't it? That dude's pretty dang good at what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree though with the take of like, it doesn't have to be a Big Ten proven DC. A good DC is just a good DC.
Right. Well, that was. I asked him. I did not get a response back from Jared. So, Jared, if you're ever listening to this, I would like to hear your response. I said, so you're telling me if you go look at the best defensive coordinator in the SEC, you're not taking him? Because his answer on NBNR last night said no. He said if he's not a Big Ten coach, I don't want him. I pushed back against that.
I agree. I'd take an SEC coordinator.
Right.
Yeah.
For certain. Interesting thought on when we were talking earlier, Coach, about when you hire new coordinators, letting them bring their own staff, or you hire a new coach or whatever, and it doesn't, and doing your best not just to bring a bunch of buddies that you're used to having around you, instead going out and getting the best of the best. I remember I read a quote, I think it was from the guy that was just hired at Florida. He had some friends who were pissed off when he didn't take him to his current head coaching job. And he said, hey, it's not because you're not my friend. It's because you're not a good fit here. Sorry.
Right.
Kind of deal. And I think that's something that maybe Matt Rhule needs to really take a little bit of a look at too, that, yeah, you're my buddy. You were my best man in my wedding or whatever relationship he has with Satterfield or whatever. Because, man, those tight ends were like on a milk carton for the last half of the season. And it sure looked like Lindenmeyer was going to be a big impact player. Then all of a sudden he disappeared. And I don't know why. But anyway, Dream DC hire. Coach, I know you've got some stats for this. I'll just throw this up there. Big picture is 7-5, 2025, a sign of progress over 2024.
I won't go and read the. Here's what I'll say. I have like 3 spreadsheets going of different stats to try and take a look. Ooh, I don't want to go through the whole thing because we're like an hour and a half into this. But here's what I will say, and I will read some of these stats out. I very much say no. I think we're in the exact same place we were at a year ago. I tried to match every single game from 2024 to 2025. And when I say progress, I'm talking last year to this year, not like before Rhule got hired. Like, I don't feel like that should be the barometer, right? It just seems kind of weird at this point. We're just looking year 2 to year 3. I tried to match every single game, like with the comparable game, and like it was actually kind of easy to do. Like when you look at the wins, we talk about, the wins are so favorable, right? Like beating UTEP in 2024, I feel like kind of transitions into beating Akron in 2025, both group of 5 teams that aren't that good, right? Last year, beating a 9-win Colorado team, you can kind of somewhat a 7-win Cincinnati team, both Big 12. But I mean, honestly, Cincinnati, as much as I hate to say it, is like Colorado last year was a better team than Cincinnati was this year, right? Matching up like a Northern Iowa, a 3-win Northern Iowa team with a 2-win Houston Christian team. Like, okay, bottom, FCS spectrum. At least, I know Northern Iowa's had some good seasons, but last year wasn't one of them. And they're just matching. I won't go through every single one there, but you can match up with like Purdue and Michigan State, lower half of the Big Ten, like Rutgers and Northwestern, 7 wins versus 6 wins. Wisconsin last year, 5 wins. Maryland's 4 wins. There's not really a big, like, huge jump in the win strength, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're all kind of the fact that I was pretty easy. The only stretch that I have there is 1-win Purdue to 4-win Michigan State. I understand that's a stretch. That was just the last I had. But the fact that I was able to find a comparable opponent in all the wins is kind of crazy to think about, right? Because it feels like we're so much better. And those 6 games, and I understand we won the UCLA game, and I'll talk about that in a second, but just those 6 games, their average wins are like 4.66. So like they're those 6 games are the exact same average wins. So it's not like we're beating way better teams, right? And then
we're beating teams fighting for bowl eligibility. Basically, we're beating teams that we used to be.
Yes, and you want to see
where you should be, but still
really crazy when we talk about things kind of being in the same place. Look at the teams we lost to. Last year, a close loss to a 9-win Illinois team. Guess what? We had a home close loss to a 2025 Michigan team that won 9 games, both at home and both on national TV.
Yep.
We got blown out by Indiana last year. We got blown out. I understand we got blown out by Penn State, but okay, that's a very at least talented Penn State team. I know they didn't win a ton of games, but we got blown out by more talented teams. We collapsed against a better roster than us. Like, we lose to Ohio State, and this year we get blown out by an average Minnesota team. But, national TV games, we get blown out. We lost to USC both years. We lose to Iowa same year. Like, that's what's in the teams that I don't know. Just the losses, I feel like it's crazy. Of like the only game that we flip, UCLA. So we lost to UCLA in 2024. We beat them in 2025. That's a 3-8 team. Is beating a 3-8 team just on the wins? Is that the one spot where you're like, this is so much better? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, is that we won one more game than we did last year in the regulars? Because I'm just looking at the regular season right now, right? Because bowl games get kind of weird in today's world of what the rosters really look like. But like, is beating UCLA a huge significant jump? To me, not really, right? So then I start looking at some of the point averages and whatnot. And yes, when you look at the total scoring per game, we did rise from 23.8 to just over 29, about a touchdown, right? But here's what I'll throw at you. This year's kind of, I want to say, a little bit inflated by the wins against Akron and Houston Christian, right? Because we blew them out like crazy. So I went and looked, and just looking at the Big Ten games, just conference play. Last year, we averaged 20.44. This year, 22.6. A 2-point bump. Is that what you were expecting from Satterfield to Dana Holgorsen? When we're talking about Dana has a whole offseason getting to do it. Whatever he's going to – I don't believe we're running his system, but whatever we believed of like Dana's in control of the offense now. If you can look at me and tell me you were expecting in Big Ten play to only get better by an average of 2 points, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Damn it, we're still chasing 3.
And when you look at, and I'm about to wrap up. I know I'm just rattling.
No, you go, buddy. You go.
When we're looking at like just averages of Nebraska's losses, just the losses, like, so last year against 6 regular season losses, we averaged 16 points and gave up 29 points. In 2025, across 5 losses instead of 6, we averaged 15 points scored and allowed 30. So we scored 1 less point and gave up 1 more point. Like when the team was facing equal or better competition or teams that are just average or above average, like we actually went backward instead of forward. That's the part to me where it's like, man, and again, I understand some of that. That's a little bit skewed, you could say, because of how bad we lost to Iowa, but damn, it still counts.
Yeah, it's still.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you don't want 40 points. Hey, don't give up 40 points. You know, it's just those sort of things. When I look at those types of numbers, and I don't know, I was starting to see some pushback on X and whatnot about like, oh, it wasn't that easy of a schedule. Like, dog, this is the easiest schedule you're ever going to get in the Big Ten. You avoided. Okay, so now that Indiana and Ohio State are playing in the Big Ten championship, there is one Big Ten team that will not have to face Indiana, Ohio State, or Oregon. Would you like to make a guess which team that was? It was Nebraska. We're the only team in the Big Ten that didn't have to face one.
Yep.
One of those 3. Yeah, at least one of those 3.
That's crazy.
And then we get Penn State on a historical down year.
What was the marquee win this year? Cincinnati, I guess.
Cincinnati.
A 7-win Big 12 team. That's what you're hanging your hat on right now. A 7. Here's what I'll say. Colorado was a better win than that last year, by far.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Heisman winner, you know, obviously all the hype around that. They won 9 games. As much as I want to shit all over Colorado, trust me, I will do that any chance. They were a 9-win team last year. I get it's in the Big 12, but that's been the best win we've had when you look at it.
And it was
the win you're looking at this year is a 7-win Big 12 team. That is what you're looking at. That's the big win. I'm telling you, when we faced a team competent, we lost. And in 3 of the games, we lost big.
Yep.
Right.
It sucks because it's like we won 1 more game, but I couldn't help but shake the feeling that we are 1 special teams unit away from being an objectively worse team this year. That you exclude special teams out of that equation. Did you by chance do how many points were scored average as a direct result of our special teams?
I have not.
To last year,
to go look at that would be very interesting.
See how many direct points were scored by the special teams last year versus this year, and I guarantee you that 15 to 30 points, we lose 3 to 5 points off of that points scored.
I have not looked at those numbers. Like I just said, here's what I'll say. You're correct. I'm just
there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
Because we had so many scoring opportunities that were generated directly because of our special teams, and then just simple, we didn't allow the other team to capitalize on special teams mistakes that we were known for last 5 to 7 years.
Right.
So I mean, realistically, I know I'm not wrong. I'm 100% correct in saying that if we did not have the special teams unit that Mike Eckler brought in this year, we would have 3-4 wins. That's it.
Yeah.
We would have taken a huge step back, because that special teams unit was a lot of the difference in a lot of these games.
Several times this year, and don't even just include us, but we got on this podcast. Don't take our word for it. Go to the other podcast. How many times, there are at least 2 or 3, all these people are getting on and say, man, if we don't have the special teams we do, we lose that game. Mike Eckler won this game for us. That happened at least
Maryland,
maybe 3 times. Yes, Maryland,
Michigan State,
Northwestern.
Like, those 3 games alone were huge. And then even Cincinnati. What was it just good punting? I don't remember what happened in Cincinnati.
I feel like we had a couple decent returns and not making a huge mistake there.
We made 2 field goals.
Oh, yeah. There you go. That didn't happen last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So seriously, we're a 4-win team at best if we did not get Mike Eckler in here. And so that tells me that we're a worse team than we were last year, because our special teams, let's just say we had the same special teams unit we had last year, but the offense and defense we had this year, and it's just not good. Not good. Obviously, this is the transitive property argument, and it's all just mental exercises that don't really, they're just hypotheticals. But yeah, as a fan, I feel like this year, we got one more win, but it doesn't feel like it. It really
I feel like we're in the exact same place.
Yep.
If you want to feel even worse about our chance at an 8th win, here's a comparison how Cincinnati played Utah this year. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Transitive, baby. Yeah, because after that loss, they went on to lose the rest of their games.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's and I love seeing everybody on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook saying like they're trying to gaslight us into being like, oh, we're now bowl eligible and you guys can't be happy. It's like, yes, actually, correct. I can, in fact, be unhappy, because the only difference. Yes, the only difference between these teams and the teams that Scott Frost coached was really just a slight difference in mentality. That our mentality with Scott Frost was, we're going to find a way to lose. And the mentality of this team that I've seen the last few years is, we might find a way to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And
here's what I'll say. If you think everything is great, I hope we could get in a hypothetical world where we run everything back the exact same. We run everything back with next year's schedule. Let me know how you're feeling about the program then. Let me know how you're feeling when we play all these teams we play next year.
Yeah, it's going to be.
You know what I'm like? I'm just going to say it as, hey, you play who you play, but we benefited from the easiest Big Ten schedule.
Yeah, this is the easiest schedule that I can remember in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hear you guys. I didn't mean for this show to be a complete downer all night, but I thought we needed to take a lot of time and face reality. And the reality being,
we need a therapy session after that.
I mean, I love the NBNR guys. They do the Cornhusker counseling sessions every Sunday.
It's one of my favorite shows out there.
It's a fantastic show because quite frankly, I'm good. I don't need that counseling, but God knows they do. So they do a good job counseling each other. I'm good because I understand what we are and I understand what we're going through and I understand where Nebraska needs to go to get there. I really do. I think beyond a shadow of a doubt, like we talked about quite a while ago in the show, if we start up front, and we've heard this on countless media podcasts, right? You've got to build from the inside out if you're going to win in the Big Ten. You can't throw a bunch of frisbee catching dogs out there at wide out and a jitterbug of a running back, except for EJ. He was kind of the exception to the rule, and expect that a substandard offensive line is going to get the job done for your 5-star quarterback. You just can't expect it. And to think, and there's a lot of stars next to those kids' names. There really are. We've got a bunch of high 3-star, 4-star guys that have been playing offensive line for us for a number of years. As I've said in the past shows, I believe Nebraska, even through the Frost years, recruited talent good enough to win 8 games every single year. We just haven't had the talent and the headsets, and we didn't have the strength and conditioning for some of those years to get us there. And I'm not sure right now, based on watching what happens to our offense and defensive lines from a physicality standpoint, that our strength and conditioning doesn't need to be looked at. Not saying changed, but at least looked at and see where it's at and where we're going. Because I know the reputation Campbell has, but the evidence that I've watched is our defensive line gets moved backwards on almost every snap, and our offensive line gets moved backwards on almost every snap.
Here's my count, and I'm not saying you're entirely I get what you're saying. Here's my counterpoint to that would be get whoever the best strength and conditioning, get whoever you want. I don't know if it makes that big of a difference with the defensive line we had and the defensive coaching we had this year. Maybe I'm dead wrong. I just don't think – maybe it improves.
I'm good with that too.
I just don't think – I do get what you're saying, but I just don't know how much I just feel like we didn't have the talent on the defensive line and we didn't have the right coaching on the defensive line.
Yeah, I'd say it's in – disclaimer, I'm kind of retarded, so there is that. But
thank you, Baskin.
My observation is that it's probably not really strength and conditioning. Just because Duvall was what he was, and we learned pretty quickly that he was not everything that we were hyping ourselves up for him to be. But Campbell is proven. He's got a proven track record. I really wonder if it has to do with fundamentals of coaching, with footwork and angles and technique and all of those things that, you can be the strongest son of a gun. And, you can be a top 20 program in the country of strength and conditioning. But out of those top 20 programs, if you're the worst in hand and footwork, you're going to lose all of those battles and then some to teams that are not as strong as you. It's kind of like wrestling, professional wrestling or UFC. You can be in the same weight division as anybody and have the same level of capability, but whether or not you have those very twitchy skills, those really, really good skills, that's what wins you those battles. So I'm the jury's out on that. Like I don't want to go after Corey quite yet. Because I feel like injuries haven't been as bad this year as it's been in years prior. I know that there was that viral tweet of like, oh, here's the comparison of the injuries of Nebraska
Iowa and Nebraska.
Iowa.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's their traveling roster. So all of their injured guys are not there.
Right.
And I was curious. I wanted to follow up. But get the right coordinators in there, and then we can.
Yeah, that's kind of I'm with you there.
Because I like Corey. I mean, look at the dude. Is he not built like a freaking?
Here's what I will say, and take this for whatever it's worth. I don't know. I will say I had a Big 12 coach tell me, he's not in the Big 12 anymore. He's now in the NFL. He told me to my face, Corey Campbell is the dude. Now, maybe I'm putting way too much stock into that, and obviously the Nebraska guys I talk to swear by him as well, but I get why they're going to swear by him. But when I had an never coached with the guy, like rave about him to my face at a coaching clinic, he's talking like, this is the guy. Like, you're going to love him. He's everything you need at Nebraska. Maybe I'm putting a lot of stock into that one conversation, plus what I know, but man, I don't know. I have a lot of faith in him still. Now, we get better coaching, we get better dudes up front, and we're still getting manhandled around. I'm willing to have the conversation. I just feel like with what we had this year, I don't know if that blame goes his way yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of at least how
I wasn't throwing blame out there.
No, I get it. I get what you're
saying. What I've seen as a team that gets worn down in the fourth quarter a lot. So,
and I will say I can't argue against it. Like
they're also young. But, you know, I'm also forgetting the fact that they're extremely young. They've only this is the youngest team in the Big Ten, too. So they're just year or two into the strength and weight training program. So next year could be a completely different story on the lines of scrimmage. So, you know, obviously none of us know all of the answers. None of us,
like I said at the beginning of the show, we'd not be on this podcast if we knew all the answers, right?
Right, yeah. We'd all be working and helping make it better.
Yeah, I'd be coaching.
But, that's right. We'd all be coaching. So, all right, boys, I think that pretty much wraps it up. How folks find you, Mr. Coach?
If you go to Twitter, go to Coach Audi. AUDE is my last name, or you can find me at the BA Coaches Show on most of the social media platforms.
Yep, and you guys can follow me on X at Scott Genred Pod. That's Scott with 2 T's. Second T is silent.
And you can find all the things regarding the show on Facebook, X, and YouTube at Genred Pod. The podcast is found at Generation Red on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite app. You can go to our website to check everything out, including past shows, past video and audio shows at genredpod.com. The email is genredpod@gmail.com. Sound off. Let us know your opinions as well. Send us emails. We'd love to hear from you. Generation Red merch is always available. Scan that QR code right up there in the right-hand corner of the screen with your phone. That'll take you directly to our merch site. That's courtesy of the Hurrdat Sports Network. They put that up for us. Or if you're listening to the podcast, do us a favor, just go to genredpod.com, click on the link at the top of the page in the gray bar. With that being said, fellas, on behalf of Justin, who was here for a short time, and Scott and Coach, my name is Ken. We are all Generation Red, and we are here to chronicle Nebraska's hopeful return to college football. Goodness, greatness, championship level, God knows where it's going, but we're going to be here following it one podcast at a time because there is no place like Nebraska.
And Iowa's corn, dude, it is so bad. It's so bad. They had to build a hospital next to their stadium because it's that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to take the low blow.
That was as low as it gets right there.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not in Rhule to be determined in how we feel.
There we go. That's where we're at right now, folks.
Yeah.
All right. We will get together again next week. Obviously, not cover the Husker game, but we'll talk about the championship game between Ohio State and Indiana, and maybe the other championship games as well. We'll talk about the signing class with Justin, and among other things that are going on in college football, like
we should
game we're going to
have a bowl game.
And the college football playoff bracket will be out, all that fun stuff. So we'll have plenty to talk about. So until next week, y'all, go Big Red. We will see you soon.
Go Big.